Arahato So bhagava araham samma sambuddha vidyacharana sampanno sugato lokavidu anuttaro purishdhamma sarathi sattha deva manussanam buddho Sakkhato bhagavata dhamma saddhittho akaliko ehipasiko opaniko pachattam vedittabho vinyamite subhatipanno bhagavato savaka sangho Ujupatipanno bhagavata savaka sangho Nyayapatipanno bhagavata savaka sangho Samchipatipanno bhagavata savaka sangho Idam chattari purisayudhani atta purisa puggala Esu bhagavato savaka sangho Ahune Dakine Anjali Karni Antaram Punyakaitam Lokasati You all remember what is the background of this sutta?
ये पहले भी पढ़ा हुआ
This is at the time when there was a drought in Vaishali, and Buddha went there at their request and asked Ananda to recite it. He gave water from his bowl in the river and he sprinkled water all over his face. Apparently the evil spirits which were roaming there, they all ran away. When this was being recited, it rained and everything finished by the time Sutta was recited. So it is very greatly revered, being a part of the Tipitaka. So we read it in Pali and English. Bhutani samavitani Brahmani vayani vantalike Sambheva bhuta sumana bhavantu Ato visankaccha sunantu bhasitam. Whatever beings have come together here, whether terrestrial or celestial, let all such beings be happy. Let them listen attentively to what is said. Tasmahi bhutani samet sabbe nittam karot manusiya pajaya divacharatto cha haranti evalim tasmahi nerakkata. Therefore, beings, do you all pay attention, show kindness to the human progeny who by day and night bring offerings to you. Therefore, protect them diligently. Yam kinchilitam meduvahuram Sabbe suvayam ratanam panitam Nano samangati tathagatena Idam pibuddhe ratanam panitam. Whatever wealth there be here or in the other world, or whatever excellent jewel in the heavens, none is equal to Tathagata. This excellent jewel is found in Buddha. By this truth may there be welfare and happiness. Ayam viragam amatam panitam yadajjaga satyamuni samahite natena dhammena samattikinchi idam pidhamme ratanam panitam. The cessation, that is freedom from passion, the excellent immortality which Sakyamuni attained, being composed, there is nothing equal to that Dhamma. This excellent jewel is found in the Dhamma. By this truth may there be welfare and happiness. Yam buddha setho parivanni suchim samadhimanantarikanyam Samadhinatena samona vijjati idam pidhamme ratanam panitam. The purity which the best of the Buddhas praised, the meditation which they call uninterrupted, there is no meditation like this. This excellent jewel is found in the Dhamma. By this truth may there be welfare and happiness. Ye Puggala Atta Satanka Sattha Chattari Etani Yugani Honti Te Dakkhine Asvatasya Savaka Ete Sudinnani Mahapalani. These 8 persons that are praised by the righteous and constitute these 4 pairs, they are worthy of offerings. being Sugata's disciple. What is offered to them bears great fruit. This excellent jewel is found in the Sangha. By this truth may there be welfare and happiness. Ye supayutta manasa dalena nikkamino gotamasasanam te patipatta amatang vigayam lagda mudha nibhuti bhunjamana idam pisanghe ratnam kanikam etena satchena suvati. Those who have applied themselves properly with a firm, desire-free mind to the commandments of Gautama, having obtained the highest gain, having plunged into Nibbana, they enjoy happiness for free. This excellent jewel is found in the Sangha. By this truth may there be welfare and happiness. Yathindakilo pathivisitosiya chatubhivate yasampakam piyo tathupamam sappurisam vadami yo vai satchani avecha passati idam pisanghe ratnam panitam etena satchena suvati. Just as a post in the front of a city gate is firm in earth and cannot be shaken by the four winds, like that I declare the righteous man to be, who, having penetrated the noble truths, sees them clearly. This excellent jewel is found in the Sangha. By this truth may there be welfare and happiness. Ye ariya satchani vibhavayanti Gambhirpanyena sudesitani Kinchapi te honti bhusankamatta Nate bhavangattamadiyanti Idam pisanghi ratnam panitam Etena satchena suvati. Those who understand the noble truths well taught by the profoundly wise Buddha, though they be greatly heedless, will not have to take the eighth birth. This excellent jewel is found in the Sangha. This truth may there be welfare and happiness. Sahavasya darsana sampadaya tayasudhamma jahita bhavanti sakkaya ditti vichikichat sīlam batang bāpi yathati kinchi yaturupaye cha vipamutto sachabhidhanani bhabhatatam idam pisanghe ratnam panitam etena satchena suvati hontu. One is attaining the insight of the right view. Three things are forsaken by him: self-delusion, doubt and indulgence in rites and ceremony, should there be any. He is released from the four hells and is incapable of committing the 6 deadly crimes. This excellent jewel is found in Sangha. By this truth may there be welfare and happiness. Kinchapi sokam man karoti papakam kayena vacha uduchetasa abhabbaso tasya patichadaye abhabbata ditta padasya vitta idam pisanghe ratnam panitam etena satchena suvati. Even if he commits a sinful deed by body, word or in thought, he is incapable of concealing it, for it is said that such an act is impossible for one who has seen the path. This excellent jewel is found in the Sangha. By this truth may there be welfare and happiness. Anapagumbe yatha kussitagde Gimhanumase pathamesnim Gimbhe tatupamam dhammavaranga Nibbanagamim paramam vikaya Idampi buddhi ratanam panitam Etena satchena suvati hutu. As a cluster of trees with their tops in bloom in the first heat of the summer month, so the sublime doctrine leading to Nibbana was taught for the highest good. This excellent jewel is found in the Buddha. By this truth may there be welfare and happiness. Varo varannu vardo varahano anuttaro dhamma varanga Idampi buddhe ratanam panitam etena satchena suvati hotu. This excellent one, knower of the excellent, giver of the excellent, bringer of the excellent, the incomparable one, has taught the excellent Dhamma. This excellent jewel is found in Buddha. By this truth may there be welfare and happiness. Khinam Puranam Navannati Sambhavam Viratta Chittayike Bhavasmi Tekhina Bija Virudhi Chanda Nibbanti Dhira Rathayam Parito Idam Visanghe Ratanam Panitam Etena Satchena Suvati Hutu. With the old karma destroyed, nothing new arising. Those whose minds are detached from future existence, they have destroyed their seeds of existence. Their desires do not spring up again. Those wise ones go out like this land. This excellent jewel is found in the Sangha. By this truth may there be welfare and happiness. Yani davutani samagatani ummani rayani antalikhe tathagatam deva manusya pujitam buddham namassama suvati hotu. Whatever beings have come together here, whether terrestrial or celestial, let us salute the Buddha. The Tathagata is revered by gods and men. May there be welfare and happiness. Yani davutani samagatani ummani vayani vantalikhe tathagatam deva manusya pujitam dhammam namassami suvati hotu. Whatever beings have come together here, whether terrestrial or celestial, let us salute the Dhamma. Tathagata is revered by gods and men. May there be welfare and happiness. Yani davutani samagatani ummani vayani vantalikhe tathagatam deva manusya pujitam sangham namassami suvati hotu. Whatever beings have come together here, whether terrestrial or celestial, let us salute the Sangha. The Tathagata is revered by gods and men. May there be welfare and happiness. This is the famous Ratana Sutta.
This was not given by Buddha.
Buddha gave it to Ananda, taught it to Ananda, and then Ananda recited it in the city.
But somehow it seems that written either by somebody else or maybe later on. This has a lot of praise for Buddha and Tathagata. So
that's not Buddha does it. Buddha does it impersonally. He doesn't praise him, he praises all the Buddhas of the world. That is not an issue. That is the issue with us, because we have a feeling that if we praise ourselves, our ego will rise and all that. But that was just, he taught them everything, how to respect. Iti piso Bhagava is taught by him. That is because we have that notion of personality, so we have that issue. Beginning, we finished Sutta Nipata last time, so I reflected what should we study next, so as a small verses. So Udan Bali is the next book which we will take. This is Udana means exaltation, inspiring utterance or a joyful utterance. And so in each of these suttas, there is at the end an exaltation of the Buddha, an expression of happiness and joy at something or the other. So these are a set of suttas, usually small suttas. In some instances there something is mentioned, there is some text also, some story or some event, and then they end with an exaltation, which is inspired utterance. So these are the first section of it is called Bodhi Vangu, and I have taken 3 of them because they are all related. First 3 suttas, 1.1 is Prathama Bodhi Suttam, Dutiya Bodhi Suttam, Tatiya Bodhi Suttam. It is just 3 statements which were said by the Buddha soon after awakening, immediately after awakening. So that is the context, which we have already seen. We have recited it as a part of Paritha also, but it gives you the story behind the whole thing. So let us read that. Evam me sutam ekam samayam bhagava. I think we are all familiar with that. So urvelam bhayarati najja neranjana ray tire bodhi rukha mule prathama abhisambhuta. So thus I have heard at one time the Lord was staying at Uruvela. Uruvela is that old name of Bodh Gaya. Viharati Najja Neranjana Tire, Niranjan Nadi ke Tir pe, the bank of the Niranjana river, Bodhi Rukha Mule, at the foot of the tree. Pathamasam Abhisambhuddha, having just realized full attainment. Tena Kopan Samena Bhagava Sattaham Ekapalankena Nisinno Bhut. There the Lord sat for Sattaham, ek Sattah ke liye, ek Pallain, in one posture, Nisinno Bhut. He sat cross-legged for 7 days. Mukti Sukha Pati Samvedi, experiencing the bliss of liberation. Atko Bhagava Tasya Sattahasya Achchayen Tamha Samadhimha Uttitva Rattiya Pathamena Yamam Paricha Samuppadam Anglomam Sadhukam Manasakarasi. Then at the end of those days, the Lord emerged from the concentration and gave attention to the Patitta Samutpad, that is dependent arising, during the first watch of the night, in the Anglomam, in the forward order. And this, of course, we all study. The key factor there is, you can read now.
Imasmin sati idam hoti, imassupada idam upajjati.
If this being, iti imasmin sati, if this being, idam hoti, this happens, that happens. Imasmin utpada, from the arising of this, idam upajjati, that arises. This is basically causal relationship, which is said to be the crux of Paticca Samutpada. Then rest is the detailed exposition on that.
Yididam avidya pachaya sankhara.
So this also I think we should all remember. All these links, 12 links we should remember.
विद्या पच्चाय संखार, संखार पच्चाय विज्ञान,
डाउनलोड किया हुआ है
विज्ञान पच्चाय नाम
My
रूपम,
files.
नाम रूपम पच्चाय सलायतन, सलायतन पच्चाय पस्सु, पस्सु पच्चाय वेदना, वेदना पच्चाय तन्हा, तन्हा पच्चाय उपादानम, उपादान पच्चाय भोग, भोग पच्चाय जाति, जाति पच्चाय जरा मरणम, शोक परिदेव दुख मोन, दुख दोमनस्सु पाप
उपायासु
उपायासु
संभवम्
संभवन्ति एवमतस्य केवलस्य
खंडस्य
समुदयो
भवति. So this I think all of us should remember because it's very important in our practice of meditation. So this is the recitation of the forward link of the Paticha Samutta. This is what he reflected on at the after first week. And then he made this exaltation. Atko bhagava etam attham viditva tayam velayam imam udanam udasi. So then on realizing the significance of this insight, the Lord uttered on that occasion this inspired utterance. So ये जो sentence है ना, अथको भगवा एतम अत्थम विदित्वा. So this is the last but one sentence of whole of this udana. That at that time, realizing the significance, the Lord uttered this inspired utterance. So what is that inspired utterance?
So उदान जो है वो सारा वही है उसी एरिया में वो जो हम देखते हैं अलग-अलग.
नहीं, और भी और बहुत सारे various occasions throughout his life. There have been when he has done certain, for example, that Bahya Sutta है ना, that is also part of Udana. Because at the end of it he made a joyous utterance कि देखो कितना हम कितना पावरफुल है कि बंदे को 2 मिनट में निर्वाण प्राप्त हो गया.
So Udan means?
Udan means inspired utterance.
Okay.
प्रसन्नता से कुछ बोलना जिससे कि खुशी के वाक्य कह सकते हैं.
अच्छा दूसरा वैसे जो राजेश वो 5 खंड तो ठीक है. अब ये जो 12 वो जो भी है
links है ना.
Right. So now the khans appear in this also.
Yeah. In a different form. He's saying, asking about Pancha Khanda, that in this also, 12 links also those khandas operate. They operate in different ways. Consciousness, the Sankhara, Vijnana, Namarupa, Salayatan. They have different names, but they are all part of they are the khandas. Vedana, Phassa. So here basically is how the suffering arises, isn't it? प्रतिच्छ समुत्पादा अनुलोम का मतलब है कि सफरिंग का रूट क्या है, कहाँ से अविद्या से शुरू होता है and then this sequence starts. If there is avidya, then there will be sankharas, and there are sankharas, then there will be the consciousness will arise because are dependent on that, and with consciousness will arise, then name and form will arise, then from name and form the 6 sense bases will arise. If 6 sense bases are there, then they will have contact with the external world. With contact, feeling will arise. With feeling, because avidya is continuing, there will be craving. With craving, there will be grasping. With grasping, then there will be tendency to become something. The tendency to become will give you birth in some other form. And then once you are born, then you will age also. And aging, death, sorrow, lamentation, everything. So this insight came, and after 1 week of peaceful sitting below the tree, and then he felt happy that see, this is a very great significance of that insight. And then he said this beautiful verse, which is the Udana part of it. So then Deepak will do the Udana for us on behalf of Buddha. इसको वर्ष में पढ़ो यार, ऐसे नहीं पढ़ो ना, हम बहुत पहले पढ़ चुके हैं कई बार. नहीं ऐसे चलो पढ़ लो, फिर मैं दोबारा पढ़ो. इसको भी याद रखना चाहिए ना, बहुत ही इंस्पायरिंग चीज है. Yes. यदा हवे पातु भवन्तु धम्मा. जब when things become manifest, to whom आतापिनो जायतो ब्राह्मणस्य, जो आतापी मतलब जो डिलीजेंटली मेडिटेट कर रहा है, वो ब्राह्मण जो डिलीजेंटली मेडिटेट कर रहा है. अथस्य कंखा वपयन्ति सब्बास. ऑल दिस डाउट्स है, कंखा मतलब शंका. ऑल दिस डाउट्स गेट वैनिश. व्हाई? यथोपजानाति सहेतु धम्मा. बिकॉज ही अंडरस्टैंड्स with cause how things arise. He understand the cause-effect relationship. So this we should read. Yada have patu bhavantu dhamma atapi no jayata brahmanasya athasya kankha vapayanti sabba yato pajanati sahetu dhamma. So that is the first part. Then there is the Dutiya Bodhisuttam. It's again the same thing, beginning is all the same, and so we need not repeat it. And what is happening here? He gave to the Atko Bhagavatasya Sattahasya Achayena Tamha Samadhi Mutitva. Samadhi se utkar Rathiya Majhme Pathe. रात के मिडल वॉच में. दैट वाज इन द फर्स्ट वॉच ऑफ द नाइट. दिस इज इन द मिडल वॉच ऑफ द नाइट. पतिच्च समुत्पादम पतिलोमम साधुकम मनसकासी. देन इन द रिवर्स ऑर्डर द बुद्धा developed that insight of the dependent arising in the reverse order. What is that reverse order? Iti. Iti means this be not idam. Iti must mean asati. This not being there, idam na hoti. Then that will not happen. From the cessation of that, must mean nirodha, idam niruddhanti. That will cease. If the cause is not there, then the effect will not be there. If the cause ends, effect also ends. That's how the translation can be done. And then yadidam, then you can read that. Pura avijja vichya. There is the paticca samutpad in the reverse order. That with the cessation of ignorance, this whole chain will start, and the birth and death will end. Then the same thing. You can read it now. Atko Bhagava etam attham viditva tayam velayam imam udanam udanesi. Having realizing the significance, the Lord uttered on this inspired utterance.
यदा हवे पातु भवन्ति धम्मा आतापनो जायतो ब्राह्मणस्य अस कंखा वपयन्ति सब्बा यतो भयं चुयानम अवेति.
फर्स्ट 3 लाइन्स तो वही हैं जो पहले थे, सिर्फ लास्ट लाइन बदल गई है. यतो खयम पच्चयनम अवेदी. When he knows how the khay happens, how the destruction happens. There it was yatha have sahetu kammam. How, because of the, what are the causes of arising? Now he says what are the causes of cessation of the phenomena. So then he says when things become manifest to the ardent meditating Brahman, all his doubts vanish, since he has known the utter destruction of the conditions. Yada have patu bhavantu dhamma atapino jayat brahmanasya athasya kankhavakayanti sabbha yato khayam pachayanam avedi. And there is the third watch of the night. So in first watch, second watch, now this is in the third watch of the night. It must be written there. So Titva Ratya Pachimamam Yamam Paticha Samutpadam Anuloma Patiloma Sadhukam Mansikas. So during the last watch of the night, Pachimamam, last watch of the night, he saw the dependent arising in both forward and reverse order. So uska dono ka forward order and then reverse order. And then that is the total issue. Iti imasmin sati idam hoti, imasya utpada idam upajjati, imasmin asati idam na hoti, imasya nirodha idam niruchyati. So that is the complete law cause of law and cause and effect relationship. And then at the end जो उदान है पढ़ देंगे मिसेस शर्मा. वही सेम स्टेटमेंट है बिगिनिंग में तो अथको भगवा एतद मत्थम विदित्वा तायम वेरायम इमम उदानम उदानयसि. सो लास्ट उदान जो है उनका कैन रीड दैट. बिल्कुल लास्ट पैरा यदा हवे पातु भवन्ति. ये सारे वहाँ बताया ना, इमीडिएटली आफ्टर लिबरेशन एक हफ्ता वो बैठे रहे experiencing the bliss of liberation, and then when he got up from samadhi, one after another these three things came out. प्रत्यक्ष समुत्पाद का अनुलोम प्रतिलोम और फिर अनुलोम प्रतिलोम दोनों. And then every time तीनों टाइम पे he made one inspired utterance. यथा हवे पातु भवन्ति धम्मा. भाई अगर आप ध्यान ठीक से करेंगे तो ये सब होगा.
Higher stage है ना, मतलब after liberation.
लास्ट पैरा
लास्ट यथा हवे
यदा हवे पातु. Vidupayam, these are the two words that separate here. Vidupayam तिष्ठति नारसेनम. विदुप्यम मतलब उसको स्कैटर कर देते हैं. He stands, divides, scattering मारसेना, मार की सेना को scatters the whole, मतलब उसकी सेना सारी भाग जाती है. जैसे कि सूर्योव ओभासयम अंतरिक्ष, जैसे सूर्य के आने से सारा स्काई इल्यूमिनेट हो जाता है. So that's the beautiful analogy given. यदा हवे पातु भवन्तु धम्मा आतापिनो जायत ब्राह्मणस्य विधूपयं तिष्ठति मारसेनं सूर्यो वोभासयमन्तरिक्षे. That is the end of these three udanas. बहुत सुंदर है तीनों उदान. Remember these them. यदा हवे पातु भवन्तु धम्मा आतापिनो जायतो ब्राह्मणस्य.
This is this question from Sutta versus Paticca Samuppada.
Paticca Samutpada is an explanation of second noble truth. It is basically an explanation of second noble truth and third noble truth. What causes suffering is given in detail there. In Paticca Samutpada, detailed reason for arising of suffering, and in the reverse order, cessation of suffering is given. So it is generally seen as an exposition of second and third noble truths.
जब हम देखते हैं जो rising, then जब हम देखते हैं कि वो बदल रहा है, वो cessation हो जाता है।
नहीं, then जिस खास तौर वो तो शरीर के स्तर पे है, ज़्यादा इम्पोर्टेंट है। अगर हम जो माइंड के स्तर पे उठती हैं और समाप्त होती है ना, खासतौर पे डेली लाइफ में गुस्सा आ रहा है, बेचैनी हो रही है, उसको देखें और वो समाप्त हो रहा है, देन यू गेट कॉन्फिडेंस, यार अब चलता रहता है, कुछ घबराने की बात नहीं। Yeah, that is all. Yeah, but if you keep on observing sensation arising, passing, changing of them, that by itself is not sufficient. You have to see the state of mind arising and passing. Unless you see that, things just don't work. At least my experience is that. Unless we focus attention on all the four satipatthānas, it will not happen. And arising and passing away of mind is so important because वही हमको ट्रैप करता है असली वो, माइंड ही ट्रैप करता है यार। बॉडी भी ट्रैप करती है, जब बीमार होते हैं तो बॉडी बहुत ट्रैप करती है, इसमें कोई डाउट नहीं। सेसेशन का मतलब है समाप्ति। हम एक्चुअली सेसेशन सेंसेशंस का इतनी आसानी से चेंज मालूम पड़ जाता है। सेसेशन कहें कि समाप्त हो जाती है, वो हमको अनुभव नहीं होता था ना। चीजें गिर रही हैं, when you are in bhanga, then you can feel that things are falling away, falling away, falling away. But here also we can see पेन होता है, राइज होता है, समाप्त हो जाता है ना, उस सेंस में तो मालूम पड़ ही जाता है। But arising of emotion and falling, passing away of emotion, that should be observed with equanimity. That will be a great practice actually, because उसका lingering effect रहता है। Emotion arise होता है ना, फिर उसको सीज भी हो जाता है तो हमको लिंगर करता रहता है। गुस्सा आ गया, उसने वैसा कह दिया, उसने ऐसा कह दिया, that lingering will totally finish if you can just observe, then that lingering will not happen. हाँ तो आएगी। So Deepak, it's all yours.
So there's a conceptual issue. आप ये कह रहे हो कि second और third noble truths जो हैं वो ये हैं।
Yeah. उसका डिटेल एक्सप्लेनेशन दिया हुआ ना कि हाउ डू सफरिंग अराइज।
And then eightfold path is
a enunciation of all the background work which is needed to do this. जो भी उसके डायमेंशंस हैं प्रैक्टिस के, वो उसमें आ गए सारे। शील वाली बात बैकग्राउंड के लिए चाहिए, अगर वो नहीं होगी तो आप आगे बढ़ ही नहीं पाओगे, समाधि नहीं हो पाएगी। ये सब प्रतीक्षा समुत्पाद को बहुत बड़ी बात है, उसको देख पाना था। आप मन की स्थिति को, वेदना को देखोगे, संखारों को देखोगे, उसके लिए तो बहुत सजगता चाहिए ना, सती चाहिए, समाधि चाहिए, तभी हो पाएगा। तो इसलिए वो उसको सिस्टमेटाइज करके एक फोल्ड पाथ बना दिया, ऐसे ऐसे करोगे तो होगा। So we are the insights of the Buddha, and from there he has developed it.
But isn't the eightfold path the third noble truth? This is the path. Fourth, yes.
He's illustrated the path first, and then given detailed exposition on suffering later. It depends on the recipients.
Conceptually अगर हमें समझना है, first ठीक है, second and third is this.
This is the detailed exposition. Basic second and third तो यही है ना. Cause of suffering is tanha. How does tanha arise? 45 bhikkhus who have wandered for 6 years, उनको पता तन्हा कैसे arise होती है, उनको ज़्यादा बताने की जरूरत नहीं थी।
फिर फोर्थ कैसे आया? फिर
फोर्थ ये आया ना कि उसको इम्प्लीमेंट कैसे करेंगे सेसेशन को, हाउ डू वी इम्प्लीमेंट दिस सेसेशन।
तो फिर आप 8 फोल्ड उसको डायग्राम क्यों बता रहे हो? वो तो डिटेल है उसका।
हाँ, उसको अचीव करने के लिए उसकी उसमें कई चीजें बैकग्राउंड में है ना. फॉर एग्जाम्पल जो बेसिक शील वाली बात, शील वाली बात तो बैकग्राउंड की बात है. अगर वो नहीं होगा तो नहीं होगा. वो तो कहीं चर्चा नहीं आती ना उसमें.
So precepts don't sit in any sutta. Precepts are derived from the eightfold.
They are there in Sutta also, eightfold path. And then there are detailed exposition of it. This in महासती पठान में पूरा आता है ना. सम्मा वाचा क्या है, पूरी कहानी है उसकी. सम्मा कम्मंतो की पूरी कहानी है. सम्मा वायामा की पूरी कहानी है. सम्मा अजीवो की पूरी, उतना पूरा नहीं, डिस्क्रिप्शन है. साथ डिस्क्रिप्शन भी दिया हुआ है. क्या आवाज नहीं जा रही है? सब ठीक है. आपकी प्रेजेंटेशन की पुरानी वाली होगी ना.
So we were at slide number 11, and point came is that what is that knows sankharas, and being suggested by Ram Sumedho is Sati Sampajanya. Sati Sampajanya, as explained by Ram Sumedho, is this open, wide awareness. And not particularly focusing on any particular thing, but welcoming everything which is happening in the present. So I'll just directly read from the Sutta. Sati Sampajanya, that's the knowing that Sabhe Sankhara Anicca, Sabhe Dhamma Anatta. All conditions, Sankharas, are impermanent. All Dhamma is non-self, Anatta, unformed, uncreated, unconditioned, and it's here and now. Sati Sampajanya is the ability to awaken, to put ourselves in position of attentive listening, opening to present moment. Universal wisdom can manifest, can operate. We begin to see things as the way it is rather than the way we think it is. So I think one more thing to point out is that whatever various ways Ajahn Sumedho tries to explain Sati Sampajanya, these are just helpful pointers. They are essentially not for grasping and trying to hold on that this is what it is and I am practicing this. So then again that becomes a viewpoint, and sometimes we get attached to that. Coming on to next slide number 13. You are not what you think, and popular to contrary to the popular wisdom, we generally hear in the motivational talk, you are what you think, and then we are encouraged to think positively, and that's the means to achieve things, and that is possibly true in this conditioned thing as a way of obtaining or achieving obtaining goals in the conditioned thing. But when we come towards reality, what we need to see is that we are talking about unconditioned, we are talking about this awareness which is operating through us, and then whatever our thinkings are, they are just the limiting thing. Thinking can never become unconditioned. Your logic cannot understand what is unconditioned. So that's I think the pointer which Ajahn Sumiro tries to give up. And so let me quickly read the slides also. Thinking process is made up, it's created by human being. Whatever language we happen to think, which is made up. It's a useful tool in conventional level for discrimination, purpose to define and describe. It's not about giving up thinking or shouldn't think anymore, but we can observe thinking. That which observes thinking, what is that? Do we need answer to that question, or we can be Buddha, knowing the Dhamma, awakened, knowing the reality. One that observes is not created state. So one of the things which additionally I think it comes up is that it's not really about discrediting thinking, saying that it has no use, but it's really that it has its own use in conventional world. But beyond that, if we try to rely on that to get some kind of an understanding of beyond, it's not going to happen.
So, all philosophy is finished. All philosophy finished already. So whatever you think, it's not a question of which philosophy.
Yes.
So because all philosophies are thoughts. And whatever you think is compounded, it is sankhara. Impermanent.
This is the content of the mind.
Whatever is sankhara is impermanent. He talks of everything as sankhara now. Body is also sankhara, everything is sankhara. So what is there? So sankhara nityate, finished.
When you are thinking, whatever you are thinking, you are aware of that.
We are not aware normally. We can be aware.
But suppose we are aware.
Yeah, that's fine. Then who is aware? Is that asking that question? Who is aware?
Awareness is aware.
That's it. Yeah, that's right. Very right.
Awareness is
That's why you say na Buddha knowing the Dhamma.
मतलब अगर हम सोचने पर ही काम चल रहा है कि मैं अवेयर हूँ, सोच रही हूँ, चाहे इधर का सोच रही हूँ और उधर का सोच रही हूँ,
तो काम नहीं चलेगा ना। वो ये saying is कि सोचना जो है, विचार करना जो है, वो एक इम्पोर्टेंट चीज़ है सामान्य जीवन में, लेकिन उससे आप ये नहीं जान सकते कि मैं कौन हूँ, वो नहीं मालूम पड़ेगा. You can't find out, figure out the truths from thinking. Thinking is a compounded thing. Thinking is a sankhara. It depends on conditions, so many things. It's all made up.
क्या करना चाहिए?
The one, you have to answer this, na? Understand. Understanding की बात है. Do we need to? He says that which observes thinking. What is that? So when thinking is going on, we can be aware there is a thinking. Then that one ability which we have to be aware is different from thinking. And that ability is pure. That doesn't get clouded by what you think. You may think the most holy thought, you may think most obnoxious thought. That awareness remains unaffected by that. So that is the point.
So I think Ajahn Sumitra also brings out this distinction is that when you are doing conscious thinking, or for example, you give this Kushalupaya of when you are thinking and you are observing the pauses between the words, which means that it's not really habitual thinking which is just going on in the background, but it sort of gives you hold of thinking and being observant of that thinking.
Normally, then what happens when we are lost, and when we get reminded in this mindfulness, in practice they seem exclusive of each other. When we are lost, it is very difficult to be mindful of the thoughts, because as soon as you become mindful, thoughts stop. There will be another thought which arises after that, but then at that moment the mindfulness is not there. When you remember that you have another thought, then the mindfulness is there, the thought is not there.
You can make a conscious decision. Now I will think.
That is possible. But during day-to-day time,
during day-to-day time, so we are most of the time on autopilot.
but
In that moment, whenever you become aware, mind will stop. And then you can take it, see what is going on, whether it is for our benefit we are thinking, or whether so the corrective action can be adopted. Just the moment you become aware, we can be aware that ये thought फालतू में सोचे जा रहा हूँ, ये सचमुच में important है, and then it will fall away. If it is useless, it will fall away. Finished. So then you can decide, okay, I want to think something, then think consciously. It happens so many times, especially when you go for a walk and you suddenly remember, why the hell am I thinking all this stupidity? Throw it off. Just gets finished. You're back to the awareness, And then some other thought comes. Again you get lost for some time, then you remember, no, this is important. Okay, let me reflect on what are the things important in this case. So then you can think of that, what is important and useful from the point of view of day-to-day life, or from the point of view of your reflections in Dhamma. So this way we do corrective actions, and slowly the habit of automatic thought gets out.
So in the thoughts that we believe are important, sometimes they get disguised, very gets disguised in that. That it is important to think about that, and you keep thinking about that.
Understood very carefully. Very right.
Because you believe, no, how can I stop this thought? It is important.
That is then not being aware of the craving, not being aware of the aversion. So it depends on the depth to which you are aware. If one is aware, oh, this is arising because of fear. So you just be aware, it's falls off.
थिंकिंग तो हमेशा चलता रहेगा ना,
जरूर होगा.
कभी ऐसा होता है कि हम नहीं सोच रहे, थॉटलेस है,
हाँ,
वो तो जब गहरी साधना में होगी
ऐसा होता है. गहरी साधना मतलब क्या होता है? कितनी गहरी, कब तक गहरी नहीं होगी?
जब गहरी नहीं तब थिंकिंग नहीं आएगी.
You can just sit quietly. तो you can चुपचाप बैठ जाओ.
चुपचाप बैठो, but you will think something.
नहीं, that's what is practice. That is what is practice. साधना यही है. Can just be aware of what is going on within, out here, surrounding you, and slowly will thinking will fall down. You'll be aware of the body, the sound, the sensations, the sound of silence. Sound of silence is such a beautiful thing, just be aware of it. It'll just hold you on. Then some thought will come, then will fall down. So you can see that it's not a big deal to be thoughtless. It's quite okay. वैसी, but it's not a objective. हमारा objective ये नहीं है कि thoughtless होना है. So we get lost in that.
So in practice, it feels that more than 90% thoughts are useless.
Yeah.
So it's good to be close to thoughtless.
Yeah.
Because whenever you are aware of the thought, you always find that it's a useless thing.
So then when we practice again and again and again, वो मन थक जाता है, ये सोच छोड़ दो यार, अच्छा नहीं. So it goes up very quickly. It comes, of course. Mostly if you reflect ना ये क्यों आया, if you do that, you will immediately find that craving है, aversion है, fear है, कुछ ना कुछ. Then you can do Dhamma Vichaya. Then it will be just cut from the root. The moment you do Dhamma Vichaya, it gets cut off from the root. हट जाए. तो बहुत strong craving है, बहुत strong aversion. तो उसको एनालाइज करना पड़ेगा, भाई ये बहुत स्ट्रांग है, इसके क्या करना है, क्या नहीं करना, कहाँ से कटेगी. देन इट नीड्स निवारण पद्धति में आता है ना, यथा च अनुत्पन्न से काम छंद से, सोचते कहाँ से उत्पन्न हो रहा है बार बार, अभी तो चला गया था फिर क्यों आ गया. देन वन हैज टू रिफ्लेक्ट डीपली ऑन इट कि भाई कोई बहुत भारी हमने गांठ बांधी हुई है जो कि छूटी नहीं रही.
तो ऐसा अगर ये अंडरस्टैंडिंग हम लेके चलें then within the Goenka tradition जो हम सती पठान जिस तरह से अंडरस्टैंड करते हैं that the sensation is the means to observe the mind, is that is an understanding that is at odds with this understanding?
No, it's not at all. It's quite okay. Because body is very helpful. It's helpful as an anchor. Body is very helpful as an anchor.
Yeah, but the understand. So, what is behind the understanding that the sensation is a means to observing the mind?
Yeah,
that the mind cannot observe itself.
That's not it. That is a limitation. That is a limitation.
तो Fleischman बोलते हैं उसको साफ, these are his words, not mine. That you use the sensations because how can
He's being obedient. That's fine. That's fine. But mind, you can easily observe mind.
See, observing your state of mind move.
Buddha said chitte chittanupashi virati. He did not say chitte vedananupashi virati. इतनी काली तो हमको भी आती है.
And I think that is exactly what Ajahn Sumit has been saying, is that if we reflect on that you have the faculty to observe the mind, then actually in some sense he is right, mind cannot reflect on the mind, consciousness is reflecting on the chitta.
No, we are observing that. अपना experience में आ रहा है तो उसको deny कैसे कर देंगे? नहीं? Are you not able to observe state of the mind?
That's what I am reflecting.
Yeah, so how can you deny that?
It seems that these two understandings are.
वो उस सेंस में अगर आप कह रहे हैं कि माइंड को डायरेक्टली ऑब्जर्व करने की जरूरत नहीं है, उस सेंस में तो है. बट बॉडी एज एन एंकर इज वेरी हेल्पफुल. That is what I really.
Body is an anchor in this context of preventing
mind from
Yeah. There's one talk that was listened by Ajahn Veeradhamma. He was one of the 3 monks who went to with Ajahn Sumit to England to set up that monastery. He is also a very senior monk. He said in one of his reflections, he was stressing a lot on observing the body, and the way he was mentioning is was very useful to me when I heard that. He said whenever the emotions are very strong and it is difficult for you to observe the mind, the body is actually a gross reflection of that.
Yeah.
So he said observing the heart is very useful, observing the throat and the facial stress is very useful. It is actually a gross representation of the mind. If you cannot directly observe the mind because the mind is very turbulent, then you can use body as an anchor, because it is actually a gross reflection of the mental state.
See, when we say first noble truth, दुख has to be understood. ऐसे eventually तो सारे emotion दुख ही है ना. दुख has to be understood. तो क्या understand करना है? Just sit and see what's going on in the mind, in the body, everywhere. Just see. Be aware of everything. Don't exclude anything from our field of observations. So we feel the body, we feel the mind, we feel everything, whatever is happening. So then we come to rest quickly. And you can understand what is the cause of suffering. You can really penetrate into the cause of suffering. If one can really rest into it, you can penetrate into cause of suffering. It needs quietude. वो बहुत जरूरी. You should have practiced quietude so that from turbulence you can come to quietude, even in amongst turbulence. Mind can be turbulent and still one can be quiet. Quietly observing as मन की ऐसी तैसी हो रही है, ठीक है, देखते हो. Mind is getting absolutely upset. That's the
mind का section.
तो बहुत ज्यादा होता है तो पड़ता ही है. जब हल्का होता है तो पता नहीं.
जब हल्का होता है तब नहीं
पता नहीं चलेगा.
ज्यादा हो तो पड़ता है तो फिर शरीर में गया और मन बहुत दूर लग जाता है.
So the key thing is really observing everything. For Sati Patthana, everything should be seen. Whatever can come into the field of observation. Body, breath.
देखते रहो.
Body, breath, sensations, feelings. The difficulty is really that we are not able to distinguish between sensations and feelings. हम sensation को ही feeling मान लेते हैं तो वो गड़बड़ जाती है. We are not seeing the effective tone of that sensation कि वो pleasant है कि unpleasant. वो बहुत ज़रूरी है. If you don't, because Buddha said that then, Sukham Vedanam Vedayam, Dukham Vedanam Vedayam. So you have to see that, you have to follow Buddha. ना? वेदना जो हो रही है, जो बॉडी सेंसेशन हो रही है, अगर आप बॉडी को देख रहे हैं, उसकी वेदना कैसी है, सुख कौन है, दुख पूरक है. उन्होंने ये नहीं कहा कि वो आप उसको वो देखो कि वाइब्रेशन है कि प्रेशर है कि नहीं है. वो वाइब्रेशन प्रेशर किसी और काम के लिए बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. अगर आपको धातु मनसिकार पर बंद करना है, यू वांट टू एनालाइज दी which dhatu is arising, then that is of great importance. Then you are doing that section. आप देख रहे हैं, बैठ रहे हैं कि वाइब्रेशन होते हैं, वायु धातु आ रही है, हैवीनेस है, पृथ्वी धातु आ रही है, गर्मी है, अग्नि धातु आ रही है. Then you are doing this dissection of the experience in the light of dhatu manasikara. So it depends, you know, which one, but it must be clear what you are doing.
शरीर पर जो भी प्रकट हुआ उसी को देखिए.
हाँ, बट समझ सिर्फ देखने से नहीं काम चलता. बस ये सबसे बड़ी हमारी कमी रह जाती है.
समझ के देखना और देखना.
सिर्फ देखते हो आप, ठीक है, हाँ समझना हो, ठीक है, हो रही है, करे जा रहे हैं. उसको उस संवेदना को देखने से क्या होगा, मन में क्या असर पड़ रहा है, कुछ समझ में आ रहा है कि नहीं आ रहा है. दैट इज द की थिंग. सती और कन्या दोनों साथ साथ चली. कन्या साथ में चली, कन्या उस एक्सपीरियंस से इन्होंने क्या सीखा, दैट इज इम्पोर्टेंट, not the experience. We seem to have given too much importance to experience and not to what we learn from the experience. So that is the key thing which we should not forget. What are we learning from this experience? तो फिर करके जाएंगे.
Actually, I found it very useful the way, for example, in some of the talks, Ajahn Sumedho in meditation talks, he starts by saying that observe your postures, observe your breath, observe your mood, and observe the sound of silence. So these four things, when I reflected on that, I found that the way he describes Chitta as mood is very, very useful. So he was not relating Chitta as Vedana. He was saying what is the feeling of that. When you even not thoughts, when you are thinking a thought, what is the texture of your mind? What is your mood? What is your response to that? I think he was encouraging everybody to look at that rather than the actual symptom of that, which is
many Vedic meditation instructions. He starts with, so in what mood are you? Starts with that.
yes.
First check what is your mood. Are you in a good mood or bad?
And then you
Are
can
you
actually do
condemning
that at
yourself?
every moment.
Are you condemning yourself and for not being able to meditate, or?
I think those four I found in day-to-day life also very, very useful. The posture is that you can always monitor. Breath, we have trained to observe the breath. I think the mood and sound of silence are the two additions that I found very useful.
तो ये बताइए, सती पठान के कॉन्टेक्स्ट में इज मूड चित्त और इज इट धम?
The mood would be actually emotion which is arising. Usually, if it is very strong, अगर mood में बहुत ज़्यादा emotional upheaval हो रहा है, तब तो it will be fall under the nivaranas. If it is a minor perturbation, then it will be chittanupassana, just observing what is the state. Sairagam va chittam. मतलब उनमें overlap है ना?
चित्त और धम्म में से
ये बताओ, हाँ इसको बताओ.
चित्त में कहाँ कहा जाता है? सरागम व चित्तम, सैरागम चित्तम तो बजाना. चित्त में राग है इस समय. उसका मतलब है राग जागा है और अभी देखते देखते निकल भी जाएगा. It is a phenomena of small impact. जब निवरण हो गया तो वो इतना स्ट्रांग है कि उसने हमारी ऐसी तैसी कर दी, हमारा दिमाग खराब कर दिया, हम कुछ नहीं कर पा रहे. इंटेंसिटी बहुत ज्यादा है ना, तभी तो निवरण होगा ना. हाँ, अब हमारे को प्रतिक्षण तो देगा, राग जागता रहता है ना. हमारे सामान्य जीवन में बात करते हुए, खाना खाते हुए, किसी को देखते हुए राग जाग जाता है, जागता है, खत्म हो जाता है. इट इज नॉट बिकम अ निवरण. लेकिन कोई ऐसा गहरा राग जाग गया, वो तो ऐसा भारी हो जाएगा, हफ्तों साधना करते हुए नहीं तो कई बार हफ्ता ही निकल गया, उसी भाग में एक ही विचार में निकल गया, तो इतना भारी हो गया. सो दैट इज बिकम अ निवरण कि ऐसी तैसी कर दी, इतना ऑब्स्ट्रक्शन हो गया कि आप कुछ नहीं कर पा रहे. सामान्य जीवन में भी ऐसा होता है ना कभी कभी. सम थॉट ओवरवेल्म्स अस सो मच दैट वी कैन नॉट डू एनीथिंग एल्स. वी कांट थिंक, वी कांट डू एनीथिंग. ठीक है, मैकेनिकली खाना भी बना रहे हैं, खा भी रहे हैं, लेकिन वो विचार मन में घूमे जा रहा है.
So the observation of that is the Brahmanupassana.
And then he says, यथा च अनुत्पन्न से काम से उत्पादित. तो देखो तो सही है, ये किस कारण से उत्पन्न हो रहा है.
वो ठीक है.
That will happen there. Not in, he doesn't say in Chaitanya Prashna this. In Chaitanya Prashna he doesn't say that. He just Sairaganga Chaitanya, Vitaraganga Chaitanya. क्योंकि राग है चित्त में देखते भी तो खत्म हो गया. वहां तो वो बार बार उत्पन्न हो रहा है ना. यथा अनुत्पन्न से काम छंद, जो उत्पन्न नहीं था फिर हो गया.
So the observation of the mood straddles both.
Yeah.
हाँ, ये समझ.
If it is a mild arising of a particular emotion at that moment,
आप affirmative उसमें करिए.
बोधि के आएंगे ना.
नहीं, हाँ. So no, in terms of harsh and ullas and so on, उस तरह से करिए.
In terms of बोधि आएंगे ना. जैसे प्रीति है, प्रशस्ति है, they are positive things which whose presence can be felt and experienced. You are very inspired and you are sitting for meditation with great inspiration. There's great joy. Be aware there's great joy. Don't take that also to be personally as an achievement. Oh, तो इतनी जॉय होने लगी है साधना करते हुए.
शरीर आ जाता है थोड़ा सा.
So उसमें how does it start with watching the chitta and transition to watching the mind?
There it is. If it is mild joy, mild happiness, just okay, I'm feeling good. आप ध्यान कर रहे हैं और you're feeling quite okay. You are quite inspired. That's okay. On the other hand, you are feeling extraordinarily inspired. I have achieved some. कल शाम को मैंने भंग का अनुभव कर लिया है. Tremendously inspired, or you developed some insight, and you are taken by that, or you have experienced some prashadhi, and then you remember it all the time. Prashadhi का experience हुआ है, and you are waiting for it to happen again.
Just watching the mind.
So coming to slide number 14, paradigm for reflection.
Slide number कहाँ लिखे हैं आपने?
Actually slide number नहीं है, मतलब
अच्छा तुम उससे देखो. वो मैं मुझे शायद नहीं दिखने लगा. Paradigm for reflection.
paradigm for reflection, and Ajahn Sumedho uses in most of the talks the other reflection on the Four Noble Truths, and many times he himself has mentioned that understanding or Four Noble Truth itself is a lifetime of work, and he points to this. For each of the Noble Truth, he points to these three aspects as mentioned in the Sutta: the statement, the practice, and the result.
Just sharing with you. कल मैं देख रहा था यूट्यूब में उनकी उसी में यूएसए में शायद उनसे मिलने आए होंगे वो कितनी सारो नहीं कितनी सारो और
दो जो थे
थानी सारा हाँ they came, only two people came to talk to him.
One of them was actually ordained with him.
कितनी सारो तो शायद पहले
Misra was the nun and
with the Ajahn Sumedho अमरावती. अच्छा तो दोनों मिलने आए थे to pay respects. तो वो पूछ रहे थे कितने साल हो गए, you must have developed deep insights. So no, actually it has become simpler. बस यही रह गया, बाकी कुछ नहीं. So आप जो कह रहे थे ना, so there he actually says it has actually become simpler, not deep, simple. Just observe something.
Yeah. And I think in one of the other question that was asked to Ajahn Sumedho, similar discussions, तभी की बात है. So somebody said कि you've been meditating for, it was a monk interview, for now more than 50 years. What has changed in your teachings or your understanding when you start from that time to now? What has changed? He just said I have become more confident maybe. Yeah, because I think earlier he was saying that now it is completely simple and I am a lot more confident that this is the only thing. That the only change that he said that has happened is that I have become more confident.
Okay, coming to next slide. And so this is also one of the very favorite topic which comes up in Ajahn Sumedho's talk again and again. He never discredits or says anything about. There's nothing bad about Samta meditation itself, but what Ajahn Sumedho focuses much more is that most of the life becomes kind of monotonous. We have to like wake up, get ready, go to office, come back in the evening and take dinner and then sleep, and then the cycle keeps on repeating. So he says that if we, in this Samta meditation, if we attain some high states of meditation that appear very peaceful, but when we come back from those states, the normal day-to-day looks something very coarse, and we kind of then the tendency becomes to go back again and again to those refined states. But he says that even in when doing concentration meditation, it's not possible to get the past experience again and again, because it's all anicca. So I think the focus is more on how we can, while living in this day-to-day world, have a reflection, have the experience of have the reflection on dukkha and anicca. And I'll just read from we can't repeat our meditation experiences. Pleasant experience of previous day is memory and creates desire, but we can be aware of it through sati sampajanya, that sanya khanda is anicca, dukkha, anatta. And again, living in this world, consciously informing ourselves of the nature of sankhara, whether body, feeling, memory, emotion, or sense consciousness.
Since this on this topic, I think this also comes up in at least in my struggles a lot, on how much important is the sitting meditation. I have reflected it a lot, and we had some discussions with Deepak also on. I was looking at the Dhamma Vinaya. So, Dhamma is all about let go, which we believe that we can do any time in the day, and that is why it is as good as whether you are meditating formally or you are observing yourself in the rest of the day. But then when I started to reflect, why is Vinaya so important for monks? And then I found out that if I look at my day, there are only primarily two forces operating in the day. One is which I call lethargy or postponement. आज निकल कर लेंगे, कल कर लेंगे, परसों कर लेंगे. So you may not be relating to it and may not be urban also, but it happens a lot with me. It happens a lot with me, and we both share that. And the other is worry. You keep worrying about something in the mind. So then I started to reflect and said that worry is, when we observe ourselves in worry, we should apply Dhamma, which is let go. And we when observe ourselves in lethargy, we should apply Vinaya, which is complete willpower and force. Because at that time, sometimes it is easy to say, पहले से ही let go चल रहा है तो उसको और let go कर देते. It's okay, नहीं हो रहा. It's all Dhamma. And I think, and I think I actually started to do that. What happened was that then I applied Vinaya at that time. I said I have to do it, and then suddenly it resulted in a struggle. Because your tendency is that you don't want to do it, and you apply that I want to do it, and if you apply Dhamma to that struggle, that I think is the right combination. So you say I will do it, and जो struggle होगी उसको I will apply dhamma and do let go.
सम्मा व्यायाम जो है इसीलिए बना एलिमेंट जो है सम्मा व्यायाम unwholesome state arises, puts effort, puts it out.
I think that is where Ajahn Sumitra puts a lot of focus on Vinaya. He says that Western people just like Dhamma because it is let go, and they don't like Vinaya because it feels like rules and restrictions and all those things. And say that वो तो cultural है, Dhamma is what we want to learn.
Ajahn की भी एक कहावत आती है ना, he went to some place to give a talk. Somebody told him, you people say let go, and you are not following your own teaching. Come on, let's go to the top. Let go of your own. So, I will let go of you.
So then I think it is very important for us to see what is our day-to-day Vinaya. Where can we create our own Vinaya?
अजान सुनने का इसमें भी एक टॉक आता है. टॉक में बताते हैं कि वो अजान चाहना उनको वन आफ्टर सम इयर्स ही सेंटिंग कि कुछ महीने तुम अजान दासा के यहाँ रह गए हो. तो वहाँ से आए वहाँ से वापस आए तो उससे कहते हैं कि यहाँ पे तुम्हारी ऐसी तैसी कर रखी है, विनय इज इम्पोर्टेंट. वो कहता है विनय यू जस्ट बी माइंडफुल. He says, yeah, he's right, but it's not true. It's a very powerful way of looking at things.
So coming to slide number 16, being aware of body rather than being owner of body. So again, just is a helpful thing to understand is that when we say that being aware of body, when we say being owner of body, we try to think about it, body, and then try to see what's happening in the body and then try to grasp those things. If there is pain in the body, then we kind of can grasp that and then whatever the suffering will follow that. But being aware of the body is more of just this bare attention of what's happening, and it's not only in your sitting meditation, it can be in all the four states as mentioned by the Buddha: standing, walking, sitting, lying down. And also Ajahn Sumitra mentions about breath, that many times we forget about breath and only notices when there is a problem. For example, if we climb 2 stories by stairs, then our breath will become heavy, and that's the time we sort of notice it. But it's really not about that particular time, but being aware of your breath in day to day, in all the along with all the awareness of the body, in various postures, we can be aware of the breath. And I think the Ajahn Sumitra makes it very simple with this statement, like it's like this. So this whole attitude of being aware of your body and having this notion that it's like this, that's sufficient. We don't probably need to qualify it again and again, because the more we try to qualify, the more we possibly try to apply our thinking into it. Coming to the next slide, the first foundation of Satipatthana, it's
first foundation to do it. This is a good place.
We can stop there.
okay. We will talk today.
Have it next minute.
And if there are questions online, we have Amit, Bharti, Srinivas, Silesh and Sudhakar online. And Deepthi was also online for most part of it. Probably she has dropped now.
Tomorrow we'll be going, just to inform you, tomorrow we'll be going to Yamuna to do the photography, drone photography of the site. And then
तो आप यहाँ बैठ के जैसे करते हैं
then we'll be going to Thailand on 27th to show the site to all the Lungpors and get their blessings from the Prophet. We'll be there for 10 days this time in Thailand, because we're going to 4 different monasteries. We also get an idea of what are the various kinds of monasteries which exist.
आप जा रहे हैं?
कल तो मैं जा रहा हूँ, अनीश जा रहे हैं और राजेंद्र भी जा रहे हैं। अर्पण ने मना कर दिया जाने से, बहुत हो गया। Then on 27th, Arpan is going, Anish is going, Yudhar is going, and Srinivas is going. उनको भी सबको संभालना है। Then meanwhile, last week we had arranged this talk with Ajahn Kevli. He was in Lucknow, but he couldn't join, so I had an opportunity to talk to him for half an hour on Skype.
Ajahn Kevli was in Lucknow.
हमने सोचा तीनों मिलके बात करेंगे, तो उनसे लखनऊ में इनका कनेक्शन नहीं मिला।
That was last week, right?
Last week
आपने बताया।
ठीक। So then yesterday we have got a letter from Ajahn Achlo also mentioning that Ajahn Anik will be coming to his monastery, so we'll have a chance to probably meet him there itself. And then he mentioned there is one American monk by the name Ajahn Greg, who has great affinity to India, and he was studied in Sanskrit for some year in, I think, in Varanasi or somewhere. Maybe he could be a potentially good candidate for showing interest in the monastery. So we'll go and talk to him.
Which monastery?
At the moment he is in Mark Jan, where we'll be going first.
Okay.
Which is the monastery of
Ajahn Achlo.
Ajahn Achlo's teacher.
Right.
Ajahn Anand, who was his teacher.
Who actually said that after 40 years.
Ajahn Chah told him
Yes.
that a monastery should be set up in India.
And there was a mention of 40 years also.
Yeah, 40 years ago he told him.
40 years ago he told.
When he was in good health and all, that when monasteries were being set up abroad, so he must have told him that India may be recognized of France. So he probably shared it at the elders' meet with Ajahn Achlo or Naniko. I don't know who exactly told us. One of them told us. So things are happening on its own.
So Ajahn Achlo is the same Ajahn who came to India, right? Yeah. He is the preceptor of Ajahn Achlo. Ajahn Anik is coming to the Ajahn Achlo's monastery.
Yeah, Ajahn Anik is the person who will come to India. He is also there.
Yes, he है Lungpor है।
Is there
40 years of.
Is there a time when they start to call them Lungpor?
40 years, beyond 40 years of.
I'm not sure, but
I don't know.
Ajahn is 10, so we are.
There are 4 Lungpor we are meeting this time.
Lungpor Anik,
Lungpor Anand first. वो भी उनको भी 40 साल हो गए, जो इनके अजान अचलो के टीचर हैं. He also quite renowned. Then Lungpor DM, the head of the whole, Lungpor Anek and Lungpor Smith. These 4 people here. 4 blessed people. Then others, Arya Savakas we are going to meet. Arya Bhikkhus, Savakas Tamil. So this is for your information of all the friends. Any questions or comments? If anybody is still around.
So Silesh had one comment for Rajesh. Light, Rajesh, two forces of light.
Two forces.
Light, Rajesh, two forces of light.
Actually, there are very prominent two forces in my life. I mostly either procrastinate or worry.
Okay, thank you everybody. So we close the session for the day. So if some of you want to come to Thailand, you are welcome. और ये यमुनानगर तो बहुत शॉर्ट नोटिस